being in that building with the AC off in the summer of Houston is what stands out, is what I'll tell you. Buckets. Just buckets, man. I loved it, though. I loved it.
Welcome to Lion Killer Podcast, where I interview the people that helped create my first feature film, Lion Killer. I'm Derek Fury, the writer, director, and editor of Lion Killer, and today on the show, I've got Dillon Dewitt. Currently, he's working on a web series entitled Secret Lies of a Gossip Queen, but he's most famous for playing the role of Maxie in the feature film Lion Killer.
That's right.
How's life been treating you, man?
Man, I've been doing okay. You know what I mean? I'm doing okay in this sort of crazy, weird time that we're in right now. But I, can't complain. Got a roof over my head, making it.
I knew you first as a stage actor, a local stage actor.
Yeah.
So walk me through the process of, and I remember you telling me about it. I talked to you a little bit about how you got into acting on set.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty interesting. Tell me how you got into acting and eventually that led to theater.
Well, it's funny. It was mostly an accident. I was in high school, had to just take an art credit. Some friends told me take this technical theater class. You can knock it out real easy. You don't have to do too much work. I was like, cool, lazy high school kid, ready to just try to move through it. Accidentally end up in the theater arts class, the acting class. And my teacher's talking about what we're going to do for the semester, talking about we're going to write our own scenes, perform our own scenes. And super shy, awkward kid. I was not about that. I wasn't going to make it happen. But I had a friend in the class. I asked him if he was going to stick around. He said, yeah, I'll stick around. And so I decided to stay in the class. And honestly, one of the best moments in the entirety of my high school life was staying in that class, because it opened me up as a person to have conversations, to be able to express myself sort of creatively. And throughout that process, I had so much fun, imagining these scenes and creating these scenes. And I was like, I want to see where else this goes. What else can I figure out about myself? And so from there, I took the next class next year. I auditioned for a show, auditioned for the next show, and then on, man. And it got me to where I am now.
Now, from acting, you took that into college, correct?
Yeah. I went to community college over in Alvin, Texas, Alvin Community College. I did 2 years there. And then I transferred to a state college over in Louisiana, in Natchitoches, Louisiana. I went to Northwestern State University, got my bachelor's there, came back to Houston, and really for the past 4 or 5 years have been grinding it out in the theater scene here.
You can see a little bit of Alvin, Texas in Lion Killer when Matt does his road trip and he's driving.
Was that in Alvin?
We're Highway 6, man, through Manville. Alvin.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, we just and back. So tell me a little bit about some of the theater projects you've worked on.
So I've done a lot of variety of plays, but I think something that I've done quite a bit that I never thought I would, or that was never really my thing, is a lot of Shakespeare. I've done quite a few Shakespeare plays, at least one a year since I've gotten to Houston. Everything from Romeo and Juliet to Antony and Cleopatra, Titus Andronicus, Macbeth. We're doing, just the other day, I had a rehearsal for a Zoom reading for Hamlet. I'm playing Horatio. You know what I mean? A lot of Shakespeare.
And no one's cast you as Othello yet.
No one's cast me as Othello yet. No, man. It's crazy. Maybe I'm too young. I don't know. I feel like I'm getting to that age where I can do it comfortably. I don't know. But it's up there, man. It's up there in the dream role. So somewhere along the way.
Shakespeare is very interesting to me, because I remember seeing when I was in high school, I guess my paths would cross with some of the theater kids, the drama kids, and they would randomly just break into Shakespeare. I remember, you know what I mean? And I would look at it like,
that's the drama kids, man.
Yeah, I would, kid, I'm listening to Public Enemy and Tupac, and then they busted. I remember specifically a couple of the girls that were drama kids. They broke into, and my Shakespeare is horrible, but what's the play with the witches?
That's Macbeth.
Is it Macbeth?
Yeah.
And they just broke into it with the witches, and they're doing the witch. They
the
killed
double, the boil trouble.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's it. Yeah.
Much like how of course, I probably looked weird because I would randomly break into freestyle sessions with my friends in the hallway.
Yeah, man.
That had to be weird to them, but to me, and now I look at like, just people just breaking into rhyme in the middle of it. Some dude's beating on a wall, and then you just start rapping over it. It's got to look weird.
Man, it's when you're like just feeling something and you're into something. I've been into a lot of music lately. Been making some music with a friend of mine. And
it has to come out.
It just has to come out. And I think it's the same for like people like monologues, people that are singing musicals, people that like, recite things from movies. It's just, I don't know, when it moves you in a certain way, like you said, it has to come out. Like it has to get out there. And I think that's the hope that we want to instill as creatives, as people that put things out. We want it to like seep in there and reach some part of you that relates to you in some way.
Yeah, it speaks to your talent and your ability that you can pull off those plays.
And I think Shakespeare is something that I love to bring it, if I can, to people who aren't familiar with it or don't feel like it's for them, because I was the same way as you were. I mean, I wasn't into Shakespeare for a vast majority of my life. And I always felt like it was something beyond me, something I didn't quite understand, something for people like way more intellectual and had a lot more education than I did. And I think if you get the right people to present it to you, it's really, they can really bring it down to earth and realize it's just another story to tell, and that it can relate to everybody. And so that's why I'm happy I get the chance to do it, because I'm not somebody that I think a lot of people would imagine is the typical Shakespeare guy. And I like that, because I think that gives people, especially like younger kids, the opportunity to see that it's just another show, and it's for anybody. Anybody can make it happen.
Acting's very competitive. Filmmaking is very competitive.
Yeah.
So anything to do that gives you, allows you to stand out.
Sort of like a leg up on the competition. So let me ask you, can I ask you about, I don't know if you've answered this in others before, like sort of about your beginnings in filmmaking. And
you gonna interview me?
Yeah, I just, it's something I want to know. I know we talked about it briefly when we were filming Lion Killer, but I love to, I want to hear about that.
I would say it goes back, even, that same girl that broke into the Hamlet monologue.
Yeah.
I remember in high school, look, I grew up poor. I grew up poor in the projects, Section 8 housing. And it would always amaze me how friends of mine, like, you've got a friend who's a DJ. He's 15, he's got a DJ set. I couldn't get enough money to buy a comic book. Like, I don't know how people manage to convince people to buy them equipment. So I would connect with people that, I like rapping. He's got a DJ set. I like movies. So I'd connect with friends that had camcorders back then, and they would edit by putting two VCRs stacked on top of each other. I don't know if you're even familiar with this, but you can just play one and then record on the other, pull a cassette out, put another one in, and that's how you would edit before there was no digital. There was Avid, but so this is the 90s. So I remember convincing a teacher, because I hated doing work. Right. So I convinced a teacher, in lieu of a paper, I would turn in a video. And so that girl, who was the actress, and the guy with the camcorder and me, we went and shot this fake documentary. This is before Blair Witch.
Okay.
But it was the same thing, but it was as if we were out on the street and we found a prostitute, and we interviewed this prostitute. It was Interview with a Prostitute. That's what it should have been called. But turned the project in and didn't say that it was fake. Just presented it as
a real thing.
As a real thing. Eventually, we're like, okay, because the teacher watched in front of the class and just goes on about how great it was. Now, if he hadn't done that, I just would have let it go. But we had to admit that, okay, you're making me feel bad here that we're lying. But so the seeds were always there. It's like, man, I really enjoyed that process. And then doing hip hop did, really, really low budget videos. But so this is all in the 90s, and getting into the 2000s and the 2010s. You know, the world really was changed by the invention of the DSLR camera, which we shot Lion Killer on, and people's access to programs like Final Cut, and also what we edited on, which was Adobe Premiere. So just people's access to that. Once again, it was no longer out of people's price range, because historically filmmaking was for the rich, for people who could gain access.
Yeah.
People that could afford to go to NYU, people that could afford to go to film school, or people that were connected in Hollywood. So now you see it's kind of like a renaissance where so many people have access to being able to make films. They majority of them are, so us including, which means it's also more competition to be seen, to be noticed. So I feel things like creating a podcast, talking to interesting people like yourself, getting people's stories about their life and just their journey. Because I can't compete with Hollywood with the money they put into promoting.
Right.
But what I can do is say, hey, I'll utilize the internet to connect with people. So, and that's ultimately, I'm sure you can relate to this as an actor. An actor is just trying to connect with an audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think when you're doing like independent movie making, or I think anything that you're trying to produce or put out on your own, marketing is huge, right? In our business, like marketing is everything in our business. And I think you've done a really good job of keeping, continually pushing out the product and try to get it to as many people as possible. And it was something that I think Regina sort of spoke to during the premiere when we went, is that, a lot of projects that we do don't ever see the light of day. We all do a lot of things that don't, a lot of the time, get sort of just lost in transition for one reason or another. And you really like push through that. I know along the way there were things you had to take on that you weren't planning, that wasn't the original plan. And a lot of the times that sets a lot of people back for, a year, 2 years, or sometimes it just sort of sidelines the project for indefinitely. But you really pushed through that and got the project out, and in a completed form, in a beautiful way, and continually still sort of push that project. And I think that hustle is what sets you apart from a lot of other filmmakers in the business right now.
Well, I appreciate it. And it's funny, every actor that I've interviewed has said the same, well, not the exact same. They've mentioned the fact that you do a lot of work and you don't see a lot of it.
Yeah.
So, and it's amazing to me because, like I mentioned a minute ago, I came out of hip hop. I came out of, who's a rapper that, you ever met a rapper that wasn't trying to sell you his CD or something?
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's
so, no, there's no concept of I'm a rapper, but I don't have anything to show for it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing. You just, every rapper has 2-3 CDs, a mixtape. It's a show and prove mentality in a very competitive culture. And when I got into filmmaking, particularly in a film school, it was interesting to me how so many people were very laxed in the quote unquote concept of hustle. Like, there's the negative context of hustle, which is somebody who's trying to get over on you, a con man. Then there's the positive context, which is somebody who won't be denied, somebody who's gonna, if the door is open, they're gonna find a way through the door. But so many filmmakers just, it's very laxed in their approach towards filmmaking. And I told someone else on one of the other interviews that if I'm asking Dillon Dewitt for his time and his talents, I'm asking Regina and Matt and everyone else, then I carry that weight on my back that you need to get something from this. It's not just about me.
Yeah. And that's something that's, as an actor, is greatly appreciated, as one of the like my biggest pet peeves, and I know a lot of other performers as well, is like having your time wasted is one of the most annoying and sort of exhausting things. Is it's an exhausting lifestyle, us as creatives. It takes a lot out of us. It takes a lot of sacrifices, a lot of traveling, a lot of time away from family, friends, things like that. A lot of money involved for, sometimes not a lot of money back. And it's like, if I'm giving this much of myself to you for your project, respect me and respect my time. And
respect the years it's taken to be able to stand in front of people and do what you do. And also the emotion, the you start talking about acting, you can get very, I guess lofty in the presentation, but the truth is, as a director, I'm asking Dillon to bare his soul in front of a camera and in front of a bunch of people. So that's why a lot of times we had a fun set and a lot of jokes, but if there was a serious scene, I would talk to the crew. We have an actor preparing, make sure we're quiet. It takes a lot of emotional vulnerability. It takes a lot to give that much emotionally, and I want to honor that in the actors.
Yeah, and I'll say we had a great set. We had a great crew. One of the biggest things for me is being comfortable in any situation where I'm performing in, and like the people around me play a big part in that. And I think it speaks a lot to what you just said, to the environment you wanted to create, because I definitely felt ready. I felt prepared. You know what I mean? I felt like I could prepare myself comfortably, free from judgment, and like you sort of be ready to put out the product, that I'm ready to do the work that I'm ready to do. Yeah, it was definitely a comfortable environment, and I greatly appreciate that.
Well, let me ask you a little bit about your process. I want to go back a minute and ask about how we got hooked up. But since we're talking about process, walk me through a little bit of your process, because I did notice on set yours was a little different. Every actor's is a little different,
Yeah, like everybody's different.
A fingerprint. No two are the same. But I remember specifically certain times you would be off in the corner, just kind of alone. I think just preparing mentally. I'd make sure you were in a quote unquote safe space. Mm-hmm. But was that part of your process to disengage, or walk me through?
Yeah. I definitely need a bit of alone time to just sort of get in the headspace. For me, it's a lot about finding sort of the balance between the character and myself, and sort of like how much of me is in that or how much of me needs to be away from that. And so for me, it's about just going and clearing my head of sort of whatever was happening in the day, anything that I feel like could take away from the performance, and just sort of get a clean slate, so that I could start it putting in like sort of like maxi circumstances into my head, and sort of have that at the forefront of my thoughts. And then emotionally, how much of Dillon is coming through in that, and how I can serve as that medium to get Maxie here. That's for me. Yeah, it's a big thing for me to have my sort of alone time and some quiet time. I need that in sort of any space that I'm in.
Which could be difficult on any set, because on our set, but like a lot of, especially micro budget, we don't have trailers that you could escape to.
Right.
So it's just kind of like finding a corner, sitting on an Apple box, kind of being yourself. Is that?
Yeah, anywhere. It can be hard in a lot of different places, because a lot of the times you just don't have that luxury to have a space by yourself. But I was able to find quite a, like you said, any corner or just like a side room, or just like step outside if we were inside somewhere, just for a quick second, and sort of like gather myself and come in. And like you said before, everybody, I think you talking with everybody and just making sure for any particular scene that everybody was sort of serious and prepared, and quiet if necessary. You ran a tight ship, and I think that's something that's necessary for any leader or director. And I appreciate that, because it makes everything move smoother. And
yeah, I mean, thank you, but it's like there's the part that, as an actor myself, as a director, I understand what the actors need, and then there's the part as a producer and the director also, where running it like that only ensures that we could hopefully ensures that we could get the scene done as fast and as efficient as possible.
Right.
Because what we also don't have on a micro budget set is 10, 15 takes.
Yeah.
And you could probably attest that the way the script was written, there is a lot of longer scenes, because the truth is, every time I'm editing, we cut to a different scene. That's a different location. It's easier to have everybody say a big block. But yeah, so there's practical reasons for that, and there's also the fact that honoring the actors, just like I would honor the crew, and you want to build an atmosphere where everyone feels valued, and hopefully that creates a good movie and people want to work with you again.
Yeah.
So let's jump back a little bit and tell me how you first heard about Lion Killer and how you eventually got involved.
I believe I first got a message from Michelle Robinson, I believe, shot me a message.
So this is what's happening. Everybody has mentioned Michelle so far. So this is helping me realize that Michelle is Michelle Robinson, acting coach, acting instructor.
Actor, director.
Yes. But apparently she's the woman to get in touch with.
Yeah, so I knew her through Clear Creek Community Theater, which is where I did a lot of my first shows at. I met her there, and just one day randomly I got a Facebook message from her telling me about this local film being shot, if I was interested in auditioning. And I said, I'd love to. Came out, met you for the first time, during that read through.
You did a self-tape first though, right?
I did send you a self-tape. That's right. Yeah. I sent you a self-tape, and then you invited me to come audition in person. Yeah. Which was one of my first self-tapes I had ever done, honestly. So you got it pretty raw there.
I'm not progressing, Michael. I'm stuck, and he helped me work on a couple of things.
Victor.
Yeah, he helped me on a few details.
A few details.
And he talked to me after class, and
you and Victor.
Well, he thinks I'm ready.
What was your experience when you first showed up to the audition?
Well, I didn't know what to expect much because, as you know, I didn't.
This is one of your first film auditions?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And so I knew how theater auditions went, but I had no idea the process for what this was. So I was completely blind going in it. I went in, filled out the paperwork, just sort of hung out, talked to some of the other actors that were waiting, and picked their brains a little bit as much as I could, to sort of get some information on the industry and how things worked, because I was so green. And so, I went into the room, got on that, just the sort of blank stage with just the camera in front of me. And I was in my head, I was like, do I talk like right up, just above the camera, like to the side of the camera, do I talk to like who's reading? What do I do? But yeah, from there, it's funny, even though stage acting and film acting are vastly different, there's a comfortability in once you start saying those words, you know what I mean? Just getting into a certain character, there's something that puts me at ease. So once all the nerves are there, and then once the words start coming out, it's like a different world, you know what I mean? So once that happened, I felt at home, I guess you could say.
Did you just get the part after that, or how did that work?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I think fairly immediately, shot me a message offering me the part, and I was like, what, me? Let's go, man. Let's make it happen.
Well, yeah, you were definitely a standout. And like I said, it was a local indie micro budget feature film, but we took everything very seriously. We took the audition seriously. And there were a lot of local actors going for all the parts. So you definitely won it. I think now you're saying you were talking to some of the actors out there. Was part of that strategic to see who was going for your part? And
not so much, because it was sort of my first outing. My expectations weren't the high. I wanted the experience. I wanted the part. no doubt. But I didn't, I didn't put too much in expecting to come, a lot of the times
As an
for a lot
actor,
of different roles.
you don't get a lot of stuff. So as an
yeah,
actor,
it's more no's than anything. It's 80% of your job is auditioning. And so I really wanted to just sort of get a picture for what I was headed into. I like to be as prepared as possible, because I honestly, I do get, like, the nerves get very high for me when I don't know, when it's sort of an unknown. And this business is a lot of unknowns. And so I try to get as much information as I can. And so I just wanted to talk with everybody out there and see just sort of how the industry normally operates, and just what people's experiences were, all these things. And most people were pretty open, you know what I mean? Conversation was flowing pretty well. I was like, okay.
Now you get the script, and your part is Maxie,
Yeah.
one of the major supporting roles. And how were you able to what was your process in connecting with that character and bringing that character to life?
I read through the script a couple times to sort of, get down what this guy's about, who this guy is, what his relation is to everybody else involved. And I really appreciated the sort of, like, younger, like, rawer, like, emotional guy, you know what I mean? Like, he's a loyal guy. He stayed true to sort of his morals for as long as he could. And then eventually he felt he had to do what he had to do for himself. And I feel like that speaks to a lot of, like, young, ambitious people who, you want to stay true to yourself, and you do stay true to yourself. And at the end of the day, you have to make a choice, you know what I mean? And I wouldn't say Maxie made the wrong choice, you know what I mean, in going to Victor's gym, because he did what he had to do for himself. And I don't think it was ever any disrespect to like Michael or, his gym. And I that was something I appreciated. It was a very honest character coming through, just trying to make the best for himself and do right and figure it out as he goes along, you know what I mean? And so that was something that I think related to me a lot as a young, ambitious artist myself.
Yeah, I mean, the character of Max, I based that a lot of myself in my 20s, which were you're put in a lot of situations where you're having to make these huge moral decisions.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that you're kind of on your own in your 20s, and now you're forced to kind of figure out the big life lessons all on your own. And it could be a right decision, a wrong decision, or one that's, like you're saying, that's kind of a shade of gray. It's not right or it's not wrong. It's just the way life goes sometimes.
Yeah.
But no matter what it is, you're tasked with dealing with the outcome. So, and the way you deal with that can make all the difference. So did you have fun playing that part, or?
Man, I had a ton of fun on the set. Everybody, I said this before, but the crew and also my fellow actors there, everybody was so supportive. You know what I mean? I expressed sort of how new I was a lot. Even once we got to set, I still continued to ask questions. Regina was somebody who talked with me so much and really gave me so much of the game. You know what I mean? Because you want to talk about hustlers, Regina is the number one, no doubt. And for her to be as hardworking as she is and as down to earth as she is incredible. And everybody, like I said before, created such an atmosphere that I felt so comfortable in being vulnerable, not even just like performing, but just like as myself and talking with people, learning about people. And I had such a good time. For my first like film outing, I don't think I could have asked for a better experience, truly.
Speaking of experience,
Speaking
of your first experience, we did have an issue with Dillon, which with Dillon would show up on the wrong days. Was it 2 or 3 times you showed up on a day you weren't on the call list?
It was about 2 or 3 times. I wasn't sure. I was just unsure about the call list a lot of the time, and why I didn't just ask, I don't know. I was unsure. I was like, I think am I supposed to be? I don't know. And so at the time I was living in Texas City, and, you know, we were shooting some stuff like out in Katy and like Northwest Houston. And so that's like hour and a half drive, depending on traffic. And sometimes I was like, well, I guess I better just get in the car and go. Cause, you know, I have no time to figure it out. I got to move preemptively. And you know, what's funny about that is shortly after we finished that film, I moved to sort of that side of town, like over there by HCC over there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, if I was living here back then, drive is right there.
It became a thing.
Boy, did I would walk in. I remember Leah being like, why are you here? What's going on? I was like, I think I'm not supposed to be here. He's like, no, you're not. I said, oh.
I know. And then I'm thinking, can we shoot the scenes? But everything is already in, it's already in motion for another scene. And you're like, but it's all good. We got it done. You know, I was just always like, man, that's
oh, man.
Now, that was a memorable moment for me. What were some of your memorable moments on set?
Oh, man. You know what I really loved? I really loved sort of the communal shots, like with all the different like BJJ guys and girls from like the community, like all the extras that came in. I loved shooting with them and like meeting with them and rolling, man. That was like, honestly, like just messing around with some like Brazilian jiu-jitsu stuff, even if it was only for like just the camera, like just getting active and getting involved in that and having some off camera, having some people talk with me about it. It was the community was so open and inviting. You know,
yeah,
somebody who didn't.
There's the part of Brazilian jiu-jitsu that's fascinating from a technical and an athletic standpoint. You just love the art. You love doing it. Then there's the part that the community itself is attractive. You know, the fact that there's it's such a diverse, beautiful, rich community of people that are always going to invite you to their gym. Come train at my gym. I've got my garage. Come on over. It can be very loving. So one of the big things, and that really played into making the movie, because all those people were extras that volunteered their time. So everybody on set, it's kind of like have blue belt will travel. They all we had blue belt. We even had browns and blacks that were there, but they were all there to support the film, support the community, and support us in our efforts to bring Lion Killer to life. So big shout out to the Houston BJJ community.
All of them, man, and a lot of the times you do projects and then you go on your way and you don't speak or see anybody involved in that again or for a while. And that's just the way it goes, and it's not positive or negative. It's just a business. But there are people that I've ran into that I worked on, with the movie, that still say, hey, say what's up. You know what I mean? People whose work I follow, people I've given shout outs to for like, if they have matches coming up or fighting or anything. It's just, it's crazy because that doesn't happen a lot. And for so many people, for this to be the case with so many people that I worked on with this movie, it's that tells you that it's something special.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
That's why I picked jiu-jitsu to make the movie. It impacted my life so richly. So any other memorable moments, anything that stands out, or?
I'll tell you, you want to talk about what stands out. Being in that building with the AC off in the summer of Houston is what stands out, is what I'll tell you. Buckets. Just buckets, man. I loved it, though. I loved it. It was raw. It was real.
In a warehouse, because this is another thing. Michelle Robinson and no AC are the two things everyone's talking about.
Well, it was hot. Ooh.
You got to get the audio, man. You got to get the
audio.
You got to
do it. You got to do it. You got to do it.
You want to make an indie film, you're going to go through some uncomfortable situations.
You got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do. And, for what it was, there was never any complaining from anybody like on set or the actor, at least that I was present with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. And
this is what, and to all the directors out there, this is what's incredible to me, is I know it was hot and I know it was uncomfortable. And director, producer cap on, Like, I don't even remember the heat. I remember this. We were supposed to have this. We don't have this. Now we've got to substitute this for that. Because my mind was working on 50 things at once.
Truly. And I saw, man, I'll tell you guys out there, Derek running around like a madman trying to get everything to happen. And he did. But boy, I'll tell you, I saw you, man. There was constantly, you were right. You had to like run out, make sure continuity was ordered, things were reset. You know what I mean? We had the right props on deck.
And I loved every moment of it,
Yeah.
But yeah, understand, you go into a film, it's going to be mentally challenging, physically challenging, emotionally challenging. It's going to test you in every way there is. It's almost like one of those sci-fi movies where some alien creates a maze that tests every part of your body, mind, and spirit to bring it to the breaking point. But as a result, we have, I believe, a beautiful film. Now, what are the lessons you learned from Lion Killer?
We talked about Maxie sort of finding his way, and I think the same is true for Michael in the movie as well. Sort of trying to find his way, how to operate within this. He's, lost his master, and sort of trying to put two and two together. And here's somebody he trusted that has sort of gone behind his back and betrayed him. And for me personally, as somebody who in my past has been more timid than I would have preferred to be, I think learning to address situations, however the outcome may be, is an important lesson for all of us to learn.
What was that experience like when you first got to see the movie and be with in a room full of people?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because I didn't know what to expect going into it. Being an actor, you're very critical of yourself, and especially seeing your performances. And I didn't know what to expect going into it. You know what I mean? After all the editing's been done, you don't know what the movie's going to look like. You've done your work and you've gone home and you have no idea what the end product is going to look like. And so I went into it, happy to be there. And I watched the movie, and it was the first time I had seen myself recorded where I did not hate the performance. You know what I mean? Where I remember I sat in the back when we went. I sat in the back and I was hunched down because I was like, I'm about to hate every minute I'm on camera. And so I watched it and I was like, man, I liked the work I was doing. I saw things I could do better, and I appreciated the things that were working. And I was like, it made me feel like I could do it. And the movie turned out so like beautifully, you know what I mean? I enjoyed every minute of it, and I didn't expect. It's not that I expected to not like it, but
you don't know what to expect when
you're
an actor. You give your performance. You're not on set every day.
Exactly. There were scenes that of course there are scenes that you're not on set for that you've read, but you have no idea how they're going to translate to film. And seeing the finished product like that, like we said before, you so often don't get to see the finished product of things. And so to see that finished product, there was so much pride, that I had being a part of that. And from everybody who came to watch it, the community, there was so much love, like so much approval and appreciation. You know what I mean? I didn't expect so many people to come up to me and be like, that was amazing. Like, you were great. All that stuff. You know what I mean? Signing the posters, all of that, man. That was crazy crazy experience.
Yeah, it was pretty rewarding. And I think, to work so hard and see you guys, people just couldn't buy enough. They wanted to buy the posters. They wanted to buy the shirts. We sold out. We ran out of everything. And that's just, couldn't have done it without you guys and the performances you guys gave. So I want to thank you for being a part of it.
Absolutely. I hope somewhere down the line we get the chance to do this again, because I had, like I said, honestly, couldn't have asked for a better first experience on a feature film. So hopefully somewhere down the line we get the chance to run it back, do it again, man.
Heck yeah, man. Anything else you want to leave the good people with?
Just thank you for supporting, guys. Continue to support Lion Killer and Derek, man, and all his future projects. He's a hustler. He's much appreciated. Much love to you, man. You and B out there. I hope she's doing good too.
Yeah, shout out to my wife, B, producer.
Absolutely. So yeah, man.
Well, we'll catch you next time, man.
All right, much appreciated, Derek.